It's something many people deal with, nonstop calls from debt collectors, but when the phone is ringing off the hook, it could be more than annoying. It could be harassment. Joining us today in the Now You Know segment is Judah Zakalik from Peters & Associates. Good to see you again on our Wednesday segment. Judah, thanks for being here.
Always a pleasure.
Not a bad studio,
It's
huh?
gorgeous.
Pretty nice.
Judah approved.
Judah
Some might say.
Let's get into it.
Yeah.
These calls can be annoying, but also kind of scary when they get to the level of potential harassment.
Yeah.
How do you get these debt collectors to stop them from calling?
Look, the only way to really get to stop them is to hire an attorney. And I hate to say it, but it's true. You'd hire an attorney and file a bankruptcy. That'll stop them. Or once a debt collector is on notice that you've retained an attorney, they're not allowed to call you anymore.
And what can the attorney do? They essentially go after him and say, leave my client alone and start to work on a solution?
Right, so the first thing we do is we're going to send them a letter saying that we represent the client, and then we'll try to settle that debt or file a bankruptcy. But once we have the creditor on notice or the debt collector on notice that we're representing them, if they try to contact you, then we can actually put money in the client's pocket. You know, on average about $1,000. I've negotiated up to $50,000 for one client for one phone call.
It's very successful.
Very. The client was very happy.
Somebody listening, though, let's define it for them.
Sure.
What is harassment in terms of this? When does it reach the level of debt collector harassment?
Well, number one, if you've retained an attorney and they call you, that's harassment.
Okay.
Number two, if you haven't retained an attorney and they're calling you before 8 a.m. or after 9 p.m., that may be considered harassment. If they're threatening you with going to jail, which they cannot do.
Yeah, these calls cannot get aggressive, but unfortunately they sometimes do.
They do. They do. They can get aggressive, malicious, hostile, but they can't threaten you with going to jail. They can't threaten you with a lawsuit if they're not intending to file one. There's a lot of things they can't do. They can't call you at your job if you told them I'm not allowed to accept certain calls at work. They can't call family members and disclose that they're trying to collect a debt.
Okay, so for our viewers listening, they aren't allowed to do any of these things. If they're doing these things, that's not legal. What are they allowed to do? Just essentially say that you have debt and they're trying to collect on it?
Exactly, that's what they can do. Yeah, and they first have to give a disclosure, hey, that I'm calling as a debt collector, and anything I say or do, I'm trying to collect a debt.
Okay, let's say somebody is experiencing this harassment. It seems like it's breaching illegality. What are their rights?
The rights are under federal law that we can bring a lawsuit and we can sue them for harassing you, and it doesn't cost you anything out of pocket. The lawyer's going to do it for free, and if and when we get you a settlement, we're going to put some money in your pocket for that collector doing something illegally.
So the result you noted earlier where the person got $50,000, that was essentially the result of a lawsuit?
Yeah.
Brought on their behalf.
Exactly.
Interesting. Don't let them harass you.
No, you have rights.
You have rights.
That's
okay.
right.
Thank you so much, Judah, for your time. We'll see you next Wednesday right back here on 8 News Now. And we're going to be back with your 12 noon broadcast in about 2.5 minutes. Stay with us.